Good morning. Employment law is probably one of the most fun areas of the law, in my opinion. Maybe I'm a little biased because I practice in it. But employees never fail to do something really stupid. And that's why I love my job. And today I want to have a little fun. Hopefully I won't offend you. I may tell some dirty stories and say some cuss words, but that is just a part of my job and what I'm here to do. So employment law 101. In 45 minutes, it's going to be impossible. If you take a look at one of the last slides in the PowerPoint that I have today, there's a number of laws on there that I'm not even going to get to. So this is a highly regulated area that you need to be aware of. Today I'm just going to focus on trying to help you issue spot in a few different legal areas that I'm going to cover. But just like I would never practice tax law because, well, for one, I don't like tax law. No offense to anyone here that practices that. But you're going to want to consult an employment lawyer if you do have a complex employment issue, just because it'll save your client time and money. One of the slides on here is going to be important websites that you should know about. The most helpful would be the EEOC's website and the Department of Labor's website. They have great reference guides on the various laws that they cover and can give you an answer to an employer's or an employee's question fairly quickly. So I recommend that you check out those websites anytime you have an employee or an employer come to you with a question. And like I said, employment laws and regulations, they keep on growing. It seems like every year there's a new law instituted for employment law, so just keep your eyes open for that. So first, the most basic concept in employment law is that Iowa is an at-will employment law state. So what does that mean? That means that absent a written agreement to the contrary, an employer can fire an employee for any reason, for any lawful reason, at any time with or without notice. I don't know how many calls I get a week saying, hey, I was fired because I missed work. Well, that's a reason. You know, if you skip out on work, then they're going to be able to fire you. Now, there's a number of laws that do limit an employer's ability to terminate an at-will employee, and we'll cover some of these laws today. For instance, you know, you cannot discriminate against an employee. You also have the common law claim of wrongful termination, which the Iowa Supreme Court has found that you cannot terminate an employee for a reason that's against public policy. For instance, if an employee reports child abuse, you wouldn't be able to fire them for that. Or if they're seeking workers' compensation benefits, you cannot terminate them for that. So anyways, there are instances where you might have an employee who's no longer an at-will employee, and there's three basic ways that can happen. In the public sector, you're going to have collective bargaining agreements which may have a just cause standard, and that means that you can only terminate an employee for just cause. Well, what does that mean? That could mean that they engaged in reckless conduct. But that's not going to allow an employer to just terminate an employee for any reason. So one of the things you're going to want to look at anytime you have an employer or an employer come to you and wants to terminate an employee is, one, are they at will, or do they maybe have more restrictions on them because they're covered by a collective bargaining agreement? Or likewise an employment agreement which may say that they can only be terminated for cause and then spell out what that for cause definition would be. Another thing is that handbooks and employment policies typically do not create a contractual relationship between an employee and employer, which means that they would be presumed to be at will. But those handbooks and employment policies need to have specific disclaimers that say, you know, this is not a contract. You are still an at-will employee, and those need to be all over the handbook. And every employer should have a handbook, no matter how small they are. All right, so the first laws that we're going to get into are non-discrimination laws, and this is my favorite area of the law. So I just want to show you a quick video from The Office, or it's a bunch of clips put together, And this is what you're going to hope that your client has not faced, or that your client, if they're an employer, has not done to their employees or let take place in the workplace. Oh. Hold on. It's not coming up on the screen, so.